Mrs. Meiseles, why don't you quickly introduce yourself? Because I think there are actually a couple people in here who don't know who you are.
Okay. Well, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Carol Meiseles, and I've been teaching for Lakeland for more than a few years. Right now I'm teaching the Lakeland strings, but I've taught just about every level of the orchestra. And this is exciting to me to teach you a little bit about music theory because I also used to teach in the schools, and I love teaching music theory to students because it really gets things to start to click and they start to understand things a lot better. So let's see, I am screen sharing. Let me find the right document. Here we go. All right, I'm going to move this over here. All right, there are going to be some questions I ask you, and I think it'll be a little bit easier instead of asking you to answer and speak it and unmuting. Why don't you type in? You guys type really fast, so you should recognize this. What is this? What have I written? And I'm writing it in letters because I know I have different people playing different clefs on instruments. So what is this? If you know what it is, please type it in. I hope some of you do. You've played it a lot.
We have a lot of people with the correct answer. It's a D major scale.
Very good. Could I please ask, and why don't you pick one, Sue? Can someone please play it for us? Raise your hand if you'd like to play it, and Miss Sue will unmute you.
We have any hands? Any hands coming up? Oh, Thapora, in the middle of a sneeze. Thapora, you can unmute yourself and then, yeah.
Let's hear a D major scale. All right, my question to you is, what makes it a D major scale? Why isn't it a Z major scale? What makes it a D major scale?
Type it in if you
Yep,
think you
type
know
in
the
your answer.
answers.
Don't worry, you're all going to be playing in a little while, but I got to get through this opening so you understand things a little better. And I'll put that there.
Ria says it's because it starts and ends on D. Ooh, Annie
That
said
is
that.
true. That is one of the answers. Correct. Anything else, Miss Sue?
Everybody's saying it starts and ends on D so far. Wonder if there's a different answer coming up soon.
Well, I'll tell you what. Can I please ask Abigail? I see she's here. Can you play the same scale, but could you not play the F sharp and C sharp? Can we hear what it will sound like?
Do I skip the F sharp and C sharp?
Yup, all naturals. So let's use our ears and listen. And can you do the same thing, start on open D, play the same octave that Thrapora played, same instrument. This takes a yes or no. Did that sound like the major scale? Good, you can shake your heads. Thank you. So it begins on D, ends on D, and certain notes might have to be sharp, and maybe some notes sometimes have to be flat. But how do we figure out which notes are sharp or flat? Well, since you've been playing your instrument, and you should know this, it doesn't matter what kind of music you play. Music is based on patterns. And I know when you started playing, maybe some of you played this. That's a pattern based on the same rhythm. Well, we need to learn what pattern is used for the notes. So what we need to do is figure out our music is based on whole steps and half steps. If you play the violin or viola, and if you have spaces between your fingers, those are whole steps. If some of the fingers are close, those are half steps. Cello, if you do finger to finger, that would be half steps. If you skip a finger, 1, 3, or 2, 4, those are whole steps. Or some of you are advanced and you play an extended position. If you stretch and stretch, those are whole steps. Can you take a look at this scale and can you please tell me, actually, why don't you just point finger up or down, and let me see if I can get a gallery so I can see all of you while I'm doing this. So I see more of you now. Can you tell me between D and E, point up if it's a whole step, point down if it's a half step. Open D to E. Whole step or half step? Ah, excellent. I see whole step. How about E to F sharp? Here we are on the violin and viola. Here we are on the cello. Cello, whole step or half step? Yeah, another whole step. How about F sharp to G? Cello, I have 3, 4. Violin, yes, and there's nothing wrong with it. We're pointing down, but there's your half step. How about G to A? Whole step or half step? Whole step. Good. I see those hands going up. A to B. Here's an A to an open B. Now you might say, well, how can I figure that out? Please notice there's a space from open A to reaching down to B. There's another whole step. How about B to C sharp? Whole step or half step? Whole step, and C sharp to D is a half step. All right, so let's see what our pattern is. And this is the pattern for every single major scale, not just D major. We number the notes 1 through 8. Number 1 and number 8 will always be an octave apart. There's a low D. There's a high D, right? We've got low D, that's your open D. There's your high D. And should I put a W between 1 and 2? I believe you said whole step. How about between 2 and 3? E and F sharp, whole step. How about between, and I think I'll do them all caps. How about between F sharp and G? We said a half step, right? How about between G and A? Notes 4 and 5, whole step. How about between, what are we up to? A and B. Open A and B or A and B anywhere on your instrument. Another whole step. How about B, C sharp? Here it is on the cello, 1, 3. Here it is on the violin viola, 1 to a high 2. Another whole step from B to C sharp. And C sharp to D is going to be a half step. So there's a lot to remember, but I think if you could remember between notes 3 and 4, right over here, and between notes 7 and 8, you have a half step. And the way to remember it, and if you say it a few times, it'll help, whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Say it with me. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. And that's with every single major scale. All right, so why don't we try another one? Here's a scale. Whoop. Where is it? Here's another scale starting on G and ending on G. Now, some of you might know the key signature, but let's go over it anyway. And we need our numbers to show us what we're up to. Between number 1 and 2, we want a whole step. Is G and A a whole step? Point up for you, or you nod your head yes or your head no. Is G, A a whole step? It sure is. Thank you, William. A to B. Notes 1, 2 to 3, we need another whole step. Is A to B a whole step? He knows his stuff. Yes, I see you nodding your head. How about B to C? Notes 3 to 4, we need a half step. Is B to C a half step? It sure is. We're going to leave that alone. So far, everything is perfect for the G major scale. How about note 4 to note 5? We need another whole step. Is C to D a whole step? Here it is on the violin and the viola, and on the cello, here it is on your A string, C to D. Is that a whole step? It sure is. We're going to leave that alone. 5 to 6, we need another whole step. Is D to E a whole step? Yes, very well. This is easy. How about E to F, notes 6 to 7? We need another whole step from notes 6 to 7. Here's E to F on the violin, viola, and the cello. Finger 1, 2. Is that a whole step? No, I agree. So you know what? We've got to change that F and make it higher. We're going to make the F an F sharp. And F sharp to G, notes 7 and 8, we need our half step. Is F sharp to G a half step? Here it is on the violin, viola, and 3, 4 on the cello is a half step. So notice it got that F sharp because otherwise it wouldn't fit in the formula. Can I please ask Anna, can you play the G with all natural notes without the F sharp that we just added? Let's listen carefully. She's going to play G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G with all natural notes, and let's see if it does sound like our major scale. Thank you. So did that sound major, one of those notes, and you know which one? The seventh note, F, had to be raised to F sharp, or we had the wrong formula. Can you now play it again, and please add the F sharp? Beautiful. Now it sounds like our major scale. It's almost like if you're baking, and I know a lot of people have been baking during this time that we're stuck in the house. I know I've been doing a little bit more baking, and my kids have been doing more baking. If you don't follow the formula, which we call a recipe, those chocolate chip cookies are not going to taste very good. So I want to go back a little bit. Can someone, William, what instrument do you play? Can you unmute yourself?
I play the violin.
Violin. Can I please ask you to play? We played our D major scale. Can you please play number 3? What is this?
Oh, wait, what?
Kind of tricky with those flat notes. Can you do it one more time? And that was excellent, because G flat and D flat aren't used too often in our music, is it? Try it again. Let's listen. Close your eyes. Does this sound like a major scale? So, did it sound like a major scale, Rhea? Yes or no? It did, but you're saying, wait a minute, she's trying to trick us. There's a G flat, there's a D flat, and we know we've been playing D major scale since the beginning of playing our instruments. We need that F sharp and C sharp. So, Will, you actually played it very, very nicely. Can you tell me what's the story with G flat and F sharp?
The story with G flat and F sharp is that they're both the same exact note. So,
But they're spelled differently. I can read G flat, so can you. But how are they the same?
they're G doesn't have exactly like it doesn't. This is kind of confusing.
Well, let me ask you a question. I know G flat looks different when I wrote it than an F sharp. Did it sound the same?
Yeah.
They did. There's a special word for that in music when a note sounds the same, but it's spelled differently. Does anyone know what that fancy word is? And I'm going to spell it right over here for you in case you don't know. It's called enharmonic. Enharmonic notes. And here's a good way to remember it. If I was to ask you, or you were doing a presentation for your class in school, and you were saying, I play the viola. My viola has 4 strings. So the class would say, very nice. And then your teacher said to you, I would like you to write a composition about what you did on a presentation. And if you wrote, I play the viola, my viola has 4 strings, please look at what I wrote. Would your teacher mark you wrong? My viola has 4 strings. Is that correct? What's wrong about it? If you could pick someone, Miss Sue, because I can't see everybody. Maybe we could ask Carlos. I see Carlos's name. Carlos, what's wrong in my sense? Why would my teacher mark me wrong? My viola has 4 strings, right? Doesn't your viola or my cello has 4 strings? What is wrong about that sentence? And he's not there. Is someone else here?
I don't see Carlos. Let's see another hand. I see Annie's hand.
Let's please ask Annie. What is wrong about my sentence?
You used the wrong 4.
What do you mean? It has 4 strings? How would you spell it?
Four.
And what do we call that in writing? Words that sound alike, 4 and 4. Annie?
Homophones.
Homophones. When I grew up, they called it homonyms, homophones, but they sound the same. Just like G flat and F sharp. They sound the same. Now, it's interesting because one of the rules for spelling a scale correctly is you must use every letter in the musical alphabet in a row. And notice I left out the letter F and I left out the letter C. In order to correct that, I must use every letter in the alphabet. It's got to be some sort of a D. It's got to be some sort of an E, an F, and we know it's going to be F sharp. It's got to be a G, an A, a B. Then it's got to be a C something, that's a C sharp, and a D. So if I were to play what Will played, and it sounded like a D major scale, you would say, sounds right. But if you were to write it in your music staff paper, and if you spelled it with a G flat and a D flat, you would be marked wrong. That would be the wrong scale spelling. So now we have certain notes that might be sharp or flat, and we have to use every single letter of the alphabet. All right, so here it is, number 5. Each musical letter must be used. No skipping letters. Here's the pattern I taught you. Why don't we say it one more time? It's written right there. Whole, whole, half. Whole, 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 half. All right, so now I give you the G major scale. We figured out, oh, I got another scale I would like you to do. Can you please get your instrument for me? And could you put your first finger on the D string, on the note E, and can you play that note? I'll play it with you. To go to the second note of the scale, we need a whole step. Put your second finger a space away. To put the third note in our major scale, that has to be a space, whole step and another whole step. To get to the fourth note, a half step. To get to the fifth note, whole step, go to first finger on the next string. Whole step to note number 6. Whole step to note number 7. And the last note, number 8, a half step. And I have a nice little pattern for the violin viola. Whole step, pinky made a half step. We go to the next string, same pattern. Whole step, half step. And cello, if you could think of using your extended position, because when you have to do whole step, instead of doing 1, 3 and trying to stretch, you're going to do 1, stretch your second finger a whole step, and extend your pinky a whole step. And if you want, you could take your pinky and just slide it that last half step. I know it kind of looks like cheating, but it's going to allow you to do something to experiment. Finger 1, cello, extend to 2, whole step, 4, extended position. Sometimes we call it 4 with an X or a plus sign. And then take that pinky and slide it. Now, here's what I'd like everyone to do. First of all, did everybody, and give me a nod or a thumbs up, was everybody able to play that scale that you just played, starting first finger D string? A nod if it's a yes, or a thumbs up, and a no, and we'll do it again. How are we doing? Because I can't see everyone, Miss Sue. Yeah? Okay. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to take your first finger that was on the note E. I want you to lower it and play E flat, the same pattern. 1, whole step, touch. 1 on the next string, whole step, touch. Let's try that. That note would be an E flat. Ready? On D string. Whole step, half step. Going over to 1 would be another whole step, half step. How did they do on that one? Nod if you did okay. Yep, thumbs up. Very good. All right, so I got a little experiment for you. But before you do the experiment, I'd like to show you my ukulele. All right, and I want you to take a look for a minute, because one thing that a ukulele has that a violin or a viola cello doesn't are these metal strips. You see these metal strips here? Guitars have them also. Does anyone know what that's called? And you could type it in. What are these metal strips that I'm pointing to?
Carlos said
Mandolin
frets.
has it, ukulele has it, guitar. What are they called? Did they get the answer?
Yeah, so William, Carlos, everybody's been saying they're frets.
They're called frets. Why do we have them? It helps us know where to put our fingers. And I know when most of you were beginners, you had tapes on your instrument. As you got more advanced, you didn't need tapes anymore, right? But I want you to notice something, that here I am down in what we would call first position. Look how wide the frets are, but look, as we get higher and higher, the fingers get closer together. And that is something that happens on every single string instrument, that as you go higher, your fingers get closer together. So here's what I'd like you to experiment with. I'd like you to put your first finger anywhere you want on the D string. It could be here, it could be way up here, and do the pattern that we learned. Whole step, half step, go over, whole step, half step. And I don't know what note you're going to be on, but if you are up very high, remember the distances are a little closer. Let's hear what you guys have, and then we'll have you play them for us. You can go anywhere on the D string. I'm up here, I'm down there. I don't even know what note you're playing. And use our pattern. I'm going to go way up here. Whole step, half step. I go over to 1, that's a whole step, half step. Would anyone like to play their scale for us? And I don't care how high or how low you are. Anyone like to try it? Please pick someone, Miss Sue.
Does anybody want to try? I gotta see some hands.
Annie, go ahead. And a few of you could try it for us. You could put your first finger anywhere you want. Now, I don't even know what scale that is. Do you know what scale it is?
G major, I think.
G major. Yeah, she has perfect pitch. So it's G major, right? So, yes, very good. Would anyone else like to play their scale for us?
Tay, is your hand up?
Okay. Let's hear your scale. And Tay, remember,
I can't really see. Is your hand up, Tay? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to pick on you if your hand was not up.
a little different, the fingering on cello. It'll be finger 1, extend to 2, extend to 4, slide pinky. Same thing on the next string. Finger 1, extended position to 2, extend to 4, slide pinky the half step. If you want to try it, well, I'd like one of the cellos to try it. I think that they're going to see, wow, this is an interesting way to play a scale. Any of them? I know Carlos, we don't know where he is, but Tay, would he like to try it?
Anyone? Any
See
of
you
my
up.
cellists? That's okay. Thapora, I did see your hand up. So we can have a viola try. Thapora, did you want to try?
I'd love to hear a viola try. Who's going to try it?
Thapora.
Good, let's hear it, Thapora. Now, the notes on the high string, you did very nice, the pattern, but on the first string, you kind of stretched your pinky too much. Get your pinky closer. Again, remember I showed you my mandolin? When you're playing up high, get fingers really close together for half steps. Try it one more time. 1, 2, 3, touch. Then slide your first finger over. And I bet you don't even know what note you're playing, do you? Does anyone know what note she's on? I think she was on a C. I think, right? But you don't know what note you started on. But you can play any scale you want starting first finger using that pattern. Here's the problem, though. Not every scale begins with first finger or open string, right? A lot of you know your open string scales. A lot of you now, you know how to do a pattern on first finger. All right, so we did that. So what we need to learn is how do we get to a pattern so we understand where all of the scales come from. And I am going to open up my, where is it? Where is it? My circle of fifths. And I don't know if you guys have this, but I hope you printed it out, because this tells you everything about every major scale, every minor scale. Now, first of all, take a look at it. Looks a little bit like a clock. Let me see if I can bring it more into motion. It's called the circle of fifths. If you remember, I started off today by saying music is filled with patterns, rhythm patterns and note patterns. So, does anyone know what is the scale that has no sharps and no flats? No sharps, no flats. Type it in.
Carlos is the first one to get it. C.
Yes, C major. So right over here, and I don't know if I could type it in. I think I can. No, I think I have to add the pen so I could type it in. But right over here on the top, type a big capital C. And as you see, it says 0 sharps, 0 flats. Now, we went over a scale before that had 1 sharp in it. Can you tell me, type in, what was the scale that we talked about that had only 1 sharp in it?
Abigail and Anna got it. They got G.
Good, G major is right. And does anyone else remember? 1 note was sharp. If you take a look in that box, I'm looking more or less at the 1 o'clock position. If I think of it like a clock, here's 12 o'clock C major. Moving to my right, the 1 sharp in G major is which sharp? Type it in.
They got it. G.
Right, G major, and which note is sharp? Only 1 note is a sharp note in that scale.
Isabella said F.
You got it, Isabella, F sharp. Let's go to the next scale. And everybody here should know this scale in their sleep. What scale has 2 sharps in it? We warm up on that all the time. Please pick
Sephora's
someone.
the first one. Sephora's the first one to say D major.
All right, so D major. What are the 2 sharps in D major?
Dia said F and C.
Beautiful, F sharp and C sharp. Now, so far we have 3 boxes filled in, and let's figure out why it's called the circle of fifths. Now, C major, if we counted 5 notes starting with C, where do we get? C, D, E, F, G. Ah, the scale with 1 sharp. Let's figure out the scale with 2 sharps. Start on G, G, A, B, C. Go ahead, Annie. Say it. Or type it. What's the 5 notes above G?
D.
Beautiful. Now, some of you have never played the scale with 3 sharps, but I bet you could figure it out. If D, we start on D, D, go up 5. E, F, G. Type it in. What's the 5th note?
Rhea jumped the gun already, and so he already said it's an A.
It's an A, all right? Can you figure out the scales with 4 sharps and 5 sharps? I'll let you use your fingers are allowed. I know in math class you're not, but musicians always use their fingers. Play our instruments and to figure out our keys. When you have the answer for 4 sharps.
We have E major.
E major is 4 sharps. Beautiful.
And then the 5 sharps, Carlos said, was B major.
All right, I'm trying to figure out how to type it. No, then it brings me to all these other screens. Forget it. So E major has 4 sharps. B major has 5 sharps. Now, let's see. So far, that's how we figure out the scales and what note to start on. So if you said, oh, I'm playing a piece in the key of 2 sharps, you know it's going to be D major. If I'm doing the key in 3 sharps, A major, E major, B major is 5 sharps. But you know what? We also have to figure out what are the sharp notes. And I think someone already answered that the key with 1 sharp is F sharp. What are the 2 sharps again? Someone told me for D major, F sharp and?
Yep, they all wrote F and C.
All right, so let's use our pattern again of 5. F is the first sharp. Count up 5. F, G, A, B, C. There you go. All right, can you figure out what the 3rd sharp is for A major scale? And I'm not helping you.
Ah, everybody got it. It's F, C, and then it's G.
Now notice something. When we start, and you know you have a song in 1 sharp, we always use F sharp. You will never see a song with 1 sharp and it's a C sharp or a B sharp or an A sharp. It will always be F sharp, and you count up 5. So F sharp up to C sharp, that's 5. C sharp up to G sharp. Can someone tell me what the 4th sharp will be for E major? We know we're going to continue with F, C, and G. We're going to carry it over from A major. Someone tell me the 4th sharp. F,
Isabella got it.
They got it?
And then, yeah, they got it. They all said D.
Wow, you guys are amazing. Can someone tell me the 5th sharp for B major?
Let's see. Let's see. Can somebody answer that one? We got A.
Beautiful job. You guys are amazing. Now you might wonder, we've only been working on the right side of the clock. Let's work on the left side. Please notice where I'm circling. That's 1 flat, 2 flats. So the left side is for flats. Now in the sharp side, the right side of the circle of fifths, we counted up 5. Guess what we're going to do on the flat side? We're going to count down 5. So we know F major, or I'm telling you, F major has 1 flat. Can you go down the scale from F? I'll help you out. F down to E, backwards in the alphabet, E down to D, D down to C, and C down to
They all got it.
B.
It's B flat.
It's B
William
flat.
got it.
Now it has to be a B flat because we already did B major, right? B major's on the right side of the clock, right? It's 5 sharps, so it's B flat major. And I'll tell you a little secret. On the left side, all the flat scales begin on a flat note, except for the first one, F major. That begins on F natural. So now you got B flat with 2 flats. Can you tell me the name of the scale with 3 flats? Again, we're going down the scale. So it'll be B flat, A, G, F, one more,
They wrote it. They wrote E.
E, and it's got to be flat. All the ones on the left side begin on a flat note, except for the very first one, F major. So see if you could get 4 flats and 5 flats. Type it in, and fingers are allowed.
Oh, they wrote A flat.
One more.
And D flat.
Beautiful. You guys are brilliant. Excellent. Now let's talk about the key signature. We know that in F major, as it says right over here, one note is flat. Does anyone know which note is going to be the flat note? And by the way, if you did our formula, which is whole step, half step, F to G is a whole, G to A is a whole, A to, we need a half step. So there's your B flat. So the formula works, or memorizing the key. So please write a B flat is the 1 flat in the key of F major. F, G, A, actually I'll play it for you. F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E, F. All right, so can someone figure out what is the second flat going to be for B flat major? It's going to start on B flat. We know it's got B flat in the key, but there's another flat note. Remember, on the right side of the clock, you went counted up 5 to figure out the notes in the key. So figure out what you need to do on the left side of the circle of fifths. So what would the second flat be? Did they get it?
Everyone is saying E flat.
You got it. All right. So 3 flats. What's the third flat going to be? You're always going to keep what you already had. B, E. What's the third flat going to be? Take the
They
E.
got it.
They
They're
got
jumping
it?
ahead of you. They're all jumping ahead of you. They're saying
What?
A flat now.
Wow. Did you get the 4 flats? B, E, A. What's the 4th flat in the key signature?
Oh, somebody just wrote D.
You're excellent. You're good. Now, there's a lot to learn, but guess what? I have a wonderful little shortcut to show you. And my students always love my shortcut. All right, so let's see if I can find my shortcut. First of all, how many letters do we use in the musical alphabet? From A to G, that's 7 letters, 7 notes. And every single note you use has a first name, either A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and a last name. What is the last name? It could be sharp, it could be flat, or it could be, and I'm not going to be able to do the natural sign, or it could be natural. So you could have A sharp, A flat, or A natural. Can someone figure out for me how many major scales there would be? Actually, let me ask you this question, because that's a really tricky one. How many sharp scales would there be? We've got 7 letters in the alphabet. Guess how many scales with sharps there would be? If you sharped every single note A to G, how many scales would that be with sharp signs? You could write the number in. Did they get it?
Somebody wrote a lot.
A lot, you're right. Well, think of it actually. There's 7 letters that we use. If every single note was sharp, how many scales would we have with sharps?
So they're all saying 7.
You got it. And how about flat scales? Again, we still have the same 7 letters. There would be how many with flats?
Once again, they're all saying 7.
They're brilliant. Oh, that's because there are students. Now, what about natural? There's only one scale that has all natural notes, and that was at the top of our clock. What was the scale that only had one sharp, had no sharps or flats? Anybody?
They all said it. They all said C major.
All right, so now do a little math. There's 7 sharp scales, 7 flat scales, and 1 scale with all naturals. How many major scales do we have?
Oh, somebody wrote 15. Everybody wrote 15.
Beautiful. There's 15. Now, there's a lot to remember. 15 scales. Oh, my goodness. You probably don't even believe that people wrote scales or songs in that. Here are some songs. Here's a song. Look at this one. This is a song by Mr. Bach, and a lot of you have played his minuets. Look at that key signature. I don't know if they could see it. Can you see it well, Miss Sue?
Yeah, we can all see those. That's a
How
lot of
many
sharp
sharps?
signs.
Oh my God, 7 sharps. Every single note, all 7 letters is sharp. And then they also have with flats. And unfortunately, I don't have the other volume, but I have this one, and there aren't 7 flats. Well, look at that, 5 flats. There are pieces with 7 flats in them. That's a lot of sharps and flats. Let me quickly show you my shortcut. If you could remember this, you'll know how to spell every scale. You'll know how to spell major scales. I didn't do minor, but it helps with minor. And you'll know the key signature. And here it is, B-E-A-D-G-C-F. Now, how do you remember it? I would say bead GCF, but then one of my students said, oh, you know what? I like to chew gum. And he said bead juicy fruit. Now, I know the G is supposed to be a J for juicy, but that's how we remembered it, and my class loved that. Bead juicy fruit. Say it with me. Bead juicy fruit.
Juicy fruit.
Now, what does that tell me? Well, if you take a look, I put a few arrows. If we start on the right side on the F, F, C, G, D, oh my goodness, those are the notes in the key signature. 1 sharp is an F sharp. 2 sharps is F sharp and C sharp. 3 sharps is F sharp, C sharp, G sharp. My goodness, this makes it easy to do key signatures. Well, wait a minute. How can I figure out what scale to play? Well, notice I have this down arrow over C. C is that important scale that's all natural. Remember, sharps go to the right. See my arrow? So if this is all natural, what's the scale with 1 sharp? Start on a G. Add the F sharp. What's the scale with 2 sharps? D major. What's the scale with 3 sharps? A major. What's the scale with 4 sharps? E major. Now, I don't expect you to remember this all now because I must tell you, I taught this to high school students and I probably taught this lesson over several weeks. I am giving you a lot of information for one day and I don't expect you to remember everything, but if you could remember B juicy fruit. Now, let's take a look going from left to right. Notice my arrow says flats. A scale with 1 flat has B flat in the key. A scale with 2 flats has B flat and E flat. 3 flats, B-E-A, and 4 flats spells the word bead, B-E-A-D. How do we figure out what note to start on, what the name of the key is? Go back to C major. There's our starting point. What's the scale? Remember, flats go to the right. The scale with 1 flat is F. Wait a minute, I'm at the end. No, you're not. Go back to the beginning. Scale with 2 flats is B flat. E flat has 3 flats. A flat has 4 flats. D flat has G flat. Oh, excuse me, 5 flats. G flat has 6 flats. And C flat has 7 flats. Every note is flat. My goodness. And again, if you're saying, what does she expect us to remember? If you could just remember bead juicy fruit and write it down. Remember, sharps go from right to left, all the sharp information, all the flat information from left to write. And I do expect questions from you, but I want to ask you one more question to end it. Why does a composer, if you play really well in D major, how many of you play well in D major? I know I do. A lot of my songs are in D major, right? Or even G major. Why write a song in C flat major with 7 flats? Why would he do that? Well, I'm going to show you a picture. Can you tell me which is the correct shirt on this page? Which is the correct shirt? Does anyone have an answer for me? And you're saying, what is she talking about? Which
Well,
shirt?
they all have, Kareem and Samir said none.
None. You mean there's no right shirt here? They're all exactly the same shirt. I'm glad I got this ad, but they're different colors. So let me ask you a question. Kareem and Samir, if you went to the store and saw these shirts, which one would you pick? Can you type in your answer? Can everyone type in their answer? Which shirt would you pick?
I think everybody's going with blue so far. A
Really?
lot of people are going with the blue one.
No one likes
we got a couple of red ones.
And white. Some people might like white. My point is there a right answer to that question? It matters what color you like. And it's the same thing when a composer's writing a piece. He might say, you know, I'm really in a C flat major mood today. I think I'm going to write a song in 7 flats. Or he might say, no, I'm in a sharp mood. I'm going to write an F sharp major. And it just has to do with how he feels. Here's the problem for us as we play our instruments. We're not the composers, but we have to know how to play all these notes. We have to know that G flat is the same sound as F sharp when we play it. We don't have to necessarily be able to compose music, but we need to be able to play all these notes. So it has to do with how you feel that day and what key he felt like writing in. And as I told you, Mr. Bach, and all of you must have played his minuets, he wrote a whole book of songs in all the different keys because he just wanted to show you. You can write in 5 sharps. You can write in 5 flats. You can write in 1 sharp. You can write in D major, which is a key we all find close to our heart. Okay? I think, yep, I finished that, and I do expect questions, and I don't expect you to know everything because, as I said, I taught this over several weeks to high school students. If you want, I can send these sheets to you as sort of a review afterwards. But can you tell me, are there any questions that you have right now? Whoop, and let me get back on. And I'm going to actually unshare my screen. Oh, we unshared it. Good, thank you.
I already did it for you.
Any questions you have?
Well, while everybody's typing
anybody?
in their questions, I'm going to start with the interview part that I know everybody's burning and dying to hear about you. I think you actually led into the perfect question, which is, who is your favorite composer?
Oh, I have a few that I like, but I think I've always veered towards Brahms. I played Brahms' 4th Symphony in high school and fell in love with it. And
I have a bust of Brahms right up there. He's also my favorite.
I thought I heard you say that once, but he really is. Something special about him. Just something special. He didn't write as much music as some of the others, but the music really does something to me.
All right. And okay, so this is the burning question. Somebody already asked it prematurely. Would you rather fight 1 horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses?
Oh dear, 100 duck-sized horses sounds like too much. I think 1 horse-sized duck would be a little bit easier for me.
Yeah.
Sounds like I have a whole orchestra chasing me, 100 ducks.
That's been everybody's consensus, yeah. Okay, let's see. How do you practice getting better intonation?
You know, it's interesting. I work on that a lot with my students. One of the things you should know is, especially in D major and G major, when you play a note and there's an open string with the same name, listen to be sure the open string D is ringing when you're playing this D. Of course, cello, it's pinky. That's called sympathetic vibration. Listen for that. Or you can use your tuner when you're playing. Another thing I like to do, which I really have fun with, I like to play double stops. And I listen. Here's the 5th, D and A. And if I put first finger on the D string with A, ooh, that's very out of tune. And I listen to get that fourth in tune. And that helps me a lot also, doing double stops. It's also a good way to practice double stops. So I do those two things.
Nice. All right, this is another burning question. What is your favorite ice cream flavor?
Well, I'm a chocolate nut, so anything with chocolate in it, I love. Mixtures, plain chocolate, I like my chocolate.
PSA for everyone, they just reopened Denville Dairy.
Oh, good, that's good to know. I'll be there.
I'll be there too. Okay, how do you motivate yourself to practice when you don't want to?
It's interesting. What I like to do, and I was just listening before to this wonderful cellist from London. What's his first name? Shake Mason. He played at the royal wedding. And when I listen to music, it inspires me to want to practice. He played cello, some songs I wasn't working on, but sometimes I'll just listen to the songs that I'd like to work on. And that really helps me want to get motivated to want to play, because I hear someone create a beautiful sound and a beautiful expression. I say, I just want to go play. So that's how I motivate myself. I listen to music.
This is a great question from somebody. They asked how many instruments do you play, but I would also ask for you to elaborate. How did you start on violin or did you start on viola? Because I know you play both. How did you go about?
I started on violin in 4th grade. And then I was very lucky. I went to a special music high school, and there were 5 orchestras in the high school. And one of my friends said, you know, we already play violin in one orchestra. They really need violas, right? They always need violas. And she said, here, we have some extra ones the school owns. And so I started doing the viola also. So one period a day I played violin, one period a day I played viola. And if you're a teacher and you get a degree in music education, Miss Sue has one also, you end up playing all of the instruments, including cello and bass. I wouldn't say I'm the best cellist or bassist, but I have taught the instruments. I know my fingering system. I even have to know all the fingerings on flute and trumpet. You have to learn all that. But my major instruments are the strings, particularly violin and viola.
When did you start playing the violin?
4th grade.
Nice. That's like most of our students.
Right.
All right. And Mrs. Meisel, this is probably one of the best questions, my favorite question. What would you do if you found a penguin in your freezer?
Oh my goodness. I would hope that it would still be alive, and I would bring it somewhere very cold. As a matter of fact, my husband's a fisherman, so he would love it. I'd say, can you bring this back home up to Alaska, wherever it's from? He would probably love doing the trip, and he would take it back home. And then he'd go fishing while he's up there too.
Somebody asked, what was your favorite vacation spot?
Oh, what was I think I really enjoyed Italy. Italy is a country of music. You can't go anywhere without hearing music. You could sit outside and eat ice cream, and all of a sudden, strolling violins come over. I mean, what a great country, and such a love of music in that country.
Oh, this is a very good question. Alice is wondering, do you have a book to recommend for learning music theory?
There are a couple of books that are really good. There's actually a couple of wonderful good websites too. One of them is this college professor that puts up a lot of good stuff called gmajormusictheory.org, I think. If you want, I'll send that to you, and then Danielle Wilson can send it out to everyone that was in the class. But there's a few good things. I used a book, Elementary Harmony by Ottman. That's a good book. It's a pretty old book though, but there's a lot of good stuff online. Everybody wants to teach you their stuff.
I know that I think I know your answer for this one, but I've had a few people ask, what are your thoughts on two-set violin?
I love them. You know that. I love those guys. I think they're wonderful. I think they do good things for music. And if you have not watched them with Hilary Hahn, you got to watch it. You've got to see Hilary Hahn do a hula hoop while she's playing. Did you see that one, Miss Sue?
I did, and she's doing Paganini of all things.
Yes, she's amazing. So you got to watch Two Set Violin. They talk about practicing. They talk about what it's like to go through music school, and they do lots of fun games. Definitely watch Two Set Violin. They're from Australia, and that's nice about the computer, that we can watch them, and they're on the other side of the world.
All right, and I think this is the perfect question to wrap up tonight.
Okay.
What is your favorite key signature?
D major. Because I must start just about all my warm-ups with Lakeland strings on D major, right? We start a lot of them on D major, and a lot of the songs are in D major. But it would be really nice for you to expand yourselves a little bit and try and ask your teacher, can we try to do a song that's not in G major or D major, or maybe a flat key? Wow, that would be really interesting. I hope you guys picked up some information, because I see I have students from LS, students right up through SO. I hope I gave each of you something that you might take away from this class that would help you.
Yeah, thank you, Mrs. Meisel. And then, so I just want to pitch for next week's class. Dan Lyons, he's the principal horn player for New York City Ballet. We're going to actually watch one of his YouTube videos of him performing a very familiar song. I think most of you guys will know. But he did everything. You know, he is a professional. He went to college. He did a whole conservatory. So any burning question you ever wanted to ask, like a professional musician who's like made their dream job in New York City, have your questions ready. All right, guys. And I think next.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say next.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, I think we're going to have a few more visitors next week who are not going to be string players. And I'm really excited for you guys to understand like the other aspects of orchestra, you know, the wind players who really bring strings and winds together to create this full, diverse sound that we sometimes don't get in Lakeland strings because we have so many string players.
Ask him how much he practices. I bet it's more than 1 hour a day.
Definitely. I feel like every time I talk to him, he's like, I can't talk today with you, Sue. I'm busy practicing is always what I hear.
Now, I feel, I just want to say, as far as practice, you're much younger than he is, but I do think if you could put in 15-minute segments, maybe one part of the day a scale, later 15 minutes on a song, I think you'll see a lot of progress. If you skip days, you're going to forget how to play, so try to do a little bit every day. Don't skip a day.
Ooh, so she said, Mrs. Meisel said 15 minutes. I'm going to give you guys a practice challenge because I know you guys can all sit through orchestra, which is an hour and a half long. So I'm going to see if you guys can do 30 minutes of practicing every day. And I always say,
yeah, what I was saying is 30 minutes would be great. You could split it up. Don't think it's a rule. You must do 30 minutes in a row. You might in the morning feel like doing scales to do 15 minutes. Maybe later in the day, do a song that you've been working on, 15 minutes. There's your 30, right? Would you count that, Miss Sue?
Absolutely. I always like to take a snack break because I love snacks. That's what gets me through practicing. It's a reward, just my snacks. I have like a pile of snacks next to me in my drawer.
I agree. I agree.
All right, guys. Well, thank you. And thank you, Mrs. Meisel. It was great seeing you guys again.
Thank you.
See you all next week.
Very good. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.